Today's topic, fact, epic factoring topic, epic math. Yeah, whatever. I'm be talking about factoring. So basically, when we're factoring, we're basically just gonna find whatever, um, whatever's in common with two things, and then we're just gonna take it out. And I guess it's best if I explain it with an example. So if we had x squared plus x cubed, and let's say I want to factor this. So hopefully you know that an x times an x is an x squared, right? And then x times an x times an x is an cubed, x cubed, right? So basically we're going to look at both of these. And this is an x squared and this is an x cubed. So something that they have in common is an x. And this guy, if we split it apart, it would have two x's, and this guy would have three x's. So we can at least take out two x's from both of them, right? So if I was to factor this, I would just write x squared parentheses 1 plus x. And now if I multiply, so this is a factored form of this. And this, they're equal to each other. All I did was take out an x squared from both of them, right? So if we multiply this back in, so we want to go back to this guy over here, back to this form, we need to multiply this out. So x squared times 1 is just x squared. X squared times x is just x cubed. And it's the same, right? So I just made it look like this. I just factored out a x squared because I could do that. You know, they have both have that in common, an x squared, right? Another example would be if I had an x, something like this. Let's say I want to factor this out. You're going to look for something that both these things have in common. And the thing that both of these things have in common is 3. So what you can do is you can take out a 3. So I'm going to factor it over here on the right side. And this is now factored. Okay. And if you want to multiply this out, you can if you want, just to make sure. All right, they're the exact same thing. Okay. So all we're doing is we're looking for something that would have they would have in common, basically. And then you just put that outside of the parentheses, and you just whatever you're left inside, you just leave it there. This is a 3. Say 12. X. So you're just going to look for something that all of these things have in common. You're just going to put that outside over here, and whatever you're left it inside, you're just going to leave it like that. So you can work on this if you want. So all of these have an x, and when you're looking for how many x's or any amount of how, like if you want to, okay, let me restart there. If you want to know how much of each variable you can take out to factor, you're really just going to be looking for whichever one has the least amount of that variable. So this one has 2 x's, right, because it's x squared. This has 3 x's because it's x cubed, and this only has 1 x, right? So you're going to pick the one with the least amount of x's, and that's how many x's you're going to have outside of the parentheses. Okay, so we can only take out 1 x because this is the least amount that this one has, right? And if we took out more than 2, right, well then we can't really take more than 2 for this guy, so that wouldn't make sense for factoring. And another thing we can factor is that 21, 3, and 12 all have the same common number. They have the same, like, similar number that they're related to, and that number is 3, right? Because 3 times 7 is 21, 3 times 1 is just 3, and 12 times 4, 3 times 4 is just 12, right? So we can take out a 3 out of all of them and a x. You don't have to write a 1 in front of this, but I'm just doing that so you can see it. And now this is factored. This is the factored form of this. And if you want, you can work this out, multiply these out, and you're going to get the same answer up here when you multiply this out. So all I took out was something that all of these terms had in common, and that was a 3x, because if I multiplied them, I'd get all this stuff up here. So that's really all factoring is. You can do that with pretty much any number. It doesn't really matter. Let's say you had 12 plus 3. Okay, this is an example, right? 12 plus 3 is equal to 15, right? Well, you could do it this way, which is correct, right? This is the simplest way to do it. You just add them, right? But if you want, you can practice factoring by just taking out a 3 out of both of them, parentheses. So 4 plus 1, right? Or you could just do that, right? I took out a 3 from both of them because 3 times 4 is just 12, and 3 times 1 is just 3, right? So I'm just going to add whatever's in parentheses first. That's a 5. 3 times 5 is 15. So that's really all I'm doing, but I just have variables to work with now as well as numbers. Over here it's just numbers. But that's basically the same concept, right? Both of these numbers have some number in common. That number's 3. I took that number out, and I just, whatever's left inside, you just leave it there, you do it, and then boom, boom, it's the same answer. All right. One more simple example like that. In case you still don't believe me, you can, let's say we had 15 and plus 25 minus 5. Now you can work this out. Here you get a 40, right? And then minus 5 is equal to 35, right? So that's the answer. You can work this out. Or you can just find out whatever number all of these have in common. That number is 5, right? Because 5 times 3 is that. So I'm just right out so you can see, right? All right. So this times this would be that. This times this would be that. This times I just factored out a 5. And now you can do whatever's in the parentheses first. So that's 8 minus 1, which is 7. 7 in the parentheses, 5 out here. 5 times 7 is 35. So that's the whole concept of factoring. You're going to look for what each term has in common, and then you're just going to take that out and then put everything else in the parentheses. So yeah, that's about it for factoring.